China has delayed any possible invasion of Taiwan for at least 4 years following Russia's disastrous foray into Ukraine, intelligence chiefs have claimed. President Xi Jinping will now reportedly analyze Vladimir Putin's failures before making any moves on the self-ruled island. According to Chen Ming-tong, head of Taiwan's National Security Bureau, the East Asian superpower will now not launch an attack for the remainder of Tsai Ing-wen's presidential term, which ends in 2026. The lesson of Ukraine for Beijing is that it should not easily wage a war, Chen told The Times. Beijing will study Russia's deficiencies and improve the People's Liberation Army. Should it launch a war, it would be a comprehensive one, and Taiwan must assess Beijing's intentions with the broadest scope of possibilities. Referring to Taiwan's recent build-up of defenses, Chen added, "We are not here waiting passively and sitting idly." Fears of a Chinese takeover have been brewing for years, particularly as an emboldened China continues to expand its military capability and is increasingly challenging the U.S.'s global hegemony, including by ramping up military drills and alleged land grabs in the South China Sea. It is also believed to have increased its nuclear arsenal in recent years after building a silo complex in the desert in Xinjiang province, spanning some 800 sq.km. Most recently, it emerged on Tuesday that it was looking into a high-speed missile train capable of transporting Beijing's nuclear weapons around the country, making them harder to track and destroy. Following the Ukraine invasion, Taiwan says it will extend compulsory military service beyond the current 4 months in a bid to improve its defenses. Beijing wants Taiwan firmly back under China's control by 2050, and has shrugged off comparisons with Ukraine, arguing that Taiwan is a domestic affair while Ukraine is a sovereign nation that is already recognized internationally. Leading Republican on the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee, Marco Rubio, is today expected to warn Beijing's military might, ideological challenge to democracy, technological ambitions and influence over the global market pose an even more serious and systematic threat than the Soviet Union ever did. He previously said China had launched a campaign of economic espionage by infiltrating American institutions, telling the New York Times, "It does us no good to pretend they're not an adversary. Their goal is to rise at the expense of the United States." Chen believes the U.S. will respond if China moves on Taiwan, adding, "If the U.S. can be involved to such a degree without a Relations Act with Ukraine, the U.S. will only be more involved with its Taiwan Relations Act." The Security Pact is an agreement in which the U.S. will supply Taiwan with sufficient hardware and technology to fight against a mainland invasion. However, news that an attack has been postponed is supported by claims made by a Russian FSB whistleblower earlier this month. The unnamed individual had written a letter to Vladimir Putin, a Russian dissident based in France, in which they claimed President Xi had been planning to take over Taiwan, before adding, "Now, after the Ukrainian events, this window of opportunity has been closed to him." Wu Qian, a spokesman for China's defense ministry, said, recently, the Taiwan Authority is using the Ukraine situation to try to hype the mainland threats, heighten the confrontation across the Taiwan Strait, and even agitate for a war. Such acts are hurting Taiwan and will only push Taiwan into the abyss of a disaster. As tensions mount, Western allies are ramping up their security. Australia announced today that it will be doubling the size of its electronic spy agency to fight against increasing cyber attacks. The Australian Signals Directorate, ASD, will hire almost 2,000 more staff, while the government also committed to increasing the country's commitment to the Five Eyes intelligence sharing network involving the UK, the US, Canada and New Zealand. It will also bolster another agreement with the UK and the US in a bid to counteract the rising threat from China.